Hey everybody, this is Pastor Charlie. I'm here with a midweek reflection for you. You know, they say that confession is good for the soul, so I have a confession to make for you today. That is that on Sunday morning when I was preaching my sermon, I was preaching it on the understanding that all of you had received pledge cards already. And it very quickly became clear to me at the end of all three services that I was wrong about that and that our pledge cards are not actually with you yet. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that today. Some of the reason is I was out of office last week and some of the things just weren't in place to print those up. And then this week we've had trouble with our printer, which is putting another delay on there. So what I want to say to you is that that should not stop us thinking and praying about how we can join in with the work of God in our gifts here in 2026. And that on Sunday morning we will ensure that there are plenty of pledge cards here on campus. So if you do not receive them in the mail before Sunday, you will definitely have them here. You know, I've been thinking a lot about this spiritual discipline of pledging and giving and planning for our giving. And really that's what it is. You know, sometimes we can think of pledges or estimates of giving in terms of it being some kind of obligation or some kind of habit that we just do each year and we don't even think about. But I think that the invitation of Christ in all his encounters when he does talk about how the individuals he is speaking to, how they use their financial resources, I think there's always an invitation to think carefully about those things and to pray deeply about those things. And really that is the invitation of any stewardship season. Yes, it helps us plan. Yes, it helps us with budgeting for the year ahead. But ultimately, this season is a season of reaching into ourselves. Like I said on Sunday morning, it's like reaching in behind that little piece of ourselves that often we like to keep curtained off and hidden behind the scenes. This is a moment whenever we sort of open that curtain and we say, gracious God, whatever your work within me is right now, help me to respond to it well. Help me to respond to it with courage and faith. I actually think that that is part of the spiritual journey in every area of our lives, right? It is the light of God which shines and gets into every part of us throughout the course of our lives. And so the invitation to you in this stewardship season, as we bring it to a close this coming weekend, is to allow God in. Wherever we have closed off and tried to sort of protect a piece of us or a piece of our lives from God, the invitation is to let God in and to let God do God's work there by the power of God's Spirit. That's a process that I'm thinking through and will be thinking through and will be responding to alongside with you this week. And my hope and my prayer is that as each of us engages in that kind of process, that kind of season of prayerful discernment, that through the work that God does in and through all of us, we will have abundantly all that we need to continue in this work next year. That has been the testimony of my ministry so far, is that God always shows up through God's people to bring support, to bring care, and yes, to bring the resources that are needed to join in on God's work in our world. So friends, hear my confession. That's why you don't have pledge cards in your homes this week. But we will have them on campus this week in both worship spaces. And my hope and my prayer is that whether or not you had a piece of card in your hand, you are in this season alongside me, praying through, opening up your heart and life before God, who, by the voice of God's Spirit, does and will lead us in the way that is everlasting. I can't wait to see you Sunday morning. God bless you and take care.